Corruption is a challenge across Southeast Asia, but the Jakarta Statement is a bold step forward. It's ASEAN's united push for clearer governance, stronger institutions, and real accountability. Now, today, we're going to be asking the hard questions. Is the region ready to turn words into proper actions? What are the roles, actually, of the youth and the tech and the private sectors? And where do we go from here? We've got powerful voices, fresh ideas, and honest conversation all lined up. So stay with us here as we're going to speak it up down here at the Wacana English edition. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon. I bid to each and every one of you, wherever it is that you're watching us, all on our socials. Welcome to another edition of Wacana English edition, coming to you live. A bit of a different timing. Normally we would have our sessions at night, but today we are bringing to you live in this glorious Thursday afternoon. Because why? We got a very hard-hitting topic, a very serious topic that we want to bring out to all of our fellow viewers. And today, it is one of the most pressing issues, not just in Malaysia, apparently, but also in Southeast Asia that we want to highlight, which is corruption. Now, that's actually one of the most famous words that has been uttered by a lot of Malaysians and people around the region as well lately, because why? It has been proven, or should I say, it has been the mission for our government, at least the Malaysian government, to counter all of this corruption which are happening, or which was happening before, and we're trying to put a stop to it. But where does it end? How is it going on? And how can it be better improved? And our focus today, speaking about corruptions, we're going to be talking about the Jakarta Statement, ASEAN Strategic Direction in Combating Corruption, a pivotal regional effort aimed at strengthening anti-corruption measures and building a cleaner, more transparent ASEAN. And to help us unpack the significance and future of the Jakarta Statements, we are joined by two exceptional leaders in the fight against corruption. We have one here in the studio. May I present to you first? We have Datuk Seri Mustafar Ali, board member of the Malaysian Institute of Integrity, RIUM, and also the chairman of the Organising Committee of the Southeast Asia Anti-Corruption Conference. Datuk Seri Mustafar brings years of expertise and insight into how integrity can be fostered at both the institutional and national level. Assalamualaikum, Datuk Seri.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How are we doing this great Thursday afternoon?
Good.
Good, lovely.
Excellent.
We're ready to battle corruption.
Sure.
We are definitely ready. And you may see only one together here with us, because one more guest that we are actually importing him from Jakarta. He is actually with us here online. We have none other than Bapak Lakso Anindito, chairman of IM 57 Plus Institute. He is a prominent Indonesian anti-corruption advocate and the current chairperson of the IM 57 Plus Institute, a non-profit organization established by former employees of Indonesia's Corruption Eradication Commission, KPK, who were dismissed following the controversial civic knowledge test, TWK, back in 2021. Assalamualaikum, Pak Lakso. Can you hear us here?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Pak, how are you?
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Wacana English edition, talking about the Jakarta Statement. Thank you for being together here with us. So let's kick things off. Let's start the ball rolling first, because why? Maybe across our own platform, across our own viewers as well, you may not really understand or may not really know what the Jakarta Statement is all about. So I'm drawn to you first, Datuk Seri. Can you yourself, from your own perspective, briefly explain the significance of the Jakarta Statement for the ASEAN countries and what makes it a timely initiative right now, Datuk Seri?
Thank you, Mio. Of course, Pak Lakso, together with us. See, when you talk about just now, in your introductory remark, you mentioned about everybody keep on talking about corruption.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Because it's really something that we need to look into, something that we need to act upon. Yeah. So that's one. Secondly, by having said that, Actually, Jakarta Statement started in November 2012.
Yep.
To be exact, 26 and 27 of November 2012, they have a big conference in Jakarta, whereby UNDP, United Nations Development Program, together with the Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, or KPK in Indonesia, they organize a big event, a global event, talk about how we can really prevent or even eradicate corruption to the extent. But to start with, what is the most important thing is to get ready about the agency itself. So now the Jakarta Statement talk about how ready are the agencies, the national agencies. I mean, for example, in Malaysia here we have Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yep.
In Singapore, the Corrupt Practice Administration Bureau, for example. In KPK, of course, in Indonesia, and all over ASEAN, all over the world. They come together, they make a decision, put into some principle, and of course we are going to deliberate later about the 16 principle, put up some principle saying that for an agency to be effective, independent, accountable, what are the criteria, what are the components that must be addressed to all these agency. So there are 16 principle. We're going to deliberate afterward, one after the other. But more importantly, the significance of this principle to ensure the effectiveness. If not, people say, well, we are having the agency, but the agency being quote unquote, there are some political interference,
Yeah.
a negative perception against them. So this is not good for democracy, not good for good governance for the country. And come again about the Jakarta Statement. The 16th principle was deliberated, and after the deliberation, come this year, after myself and some colleagues with Tan Sri Abu Qasim that appeared before, we spoke to our counterpart in Indonesia. I think we need to revisit what happened after November 2012 until now. Do the countries, do the agencies really embedded the so-called principle to the organization, or there are some obstacles, some challenges, weaknesses, what went wrong, for example, on this aspect. But having said that, that's why come this principle that we are going to deliberate here in Putrajaya in 29th of April, after much deliberation on that.
Yeah.
Coming on that aspect again, we are going to discuss among ASEAN region. Yeah? Of course, we can speak globally.
Yep.
For example, in Jakarta in 2012, there are about 18 countries represented by about 30 countries actually, and some international organization that joined during the conference. But here we try to concentrate because this is the first conference of its kind here in ASEAN.
Here in ASEAN.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at it, Pak Lakso, I'm drawn to you right now because what was Datuk Seri mentioning just now, again, the whole intention of the Jakarta Statement that was being done back in 2012 is to tackle this pandemic globally and not just within its own region, in the ASEAN region where, like us, Indonesia, Malaysia, brothers and sisters down here, but ultimately and timingly as well, the fact that it's being drawn now here in the year 2025, it does play a much more significant role, and it needs to be that significant for us to really understand and do something about it, Pak Lakso.
Yes, I think a lot of things has been elaborated by Dato Sri Mustafar as one of the leading figures, not only in Malaysia but also at the international level, including Indonesia. But something that I want to support based on the elaboration from Dato Sri Mustafar is Jakarta statements give the measurement or standard what the term of the independence if we refer to article 36 of special body for the anti-corruption eradication. This is, I think, the milestones of the anti-corruption movement, so we know how to we can define what is the independence mean, but become a problem because one of the obstacle is not only what the indicators, but we should ask why and how to achieve these indicators. That's why I think this is the reason why Datuk Seri Mustafar organized the big events with us to develop and recalling again the Jakarta Statement after a lot of accident happened, not only in Southeast Asia but at the global level when we talk about the corruptor feedback. But in this time, we want to develop how to achieve the Jakarta Statement. We talk about the strategy, we talk about the best collective action that we can do between the government, the NGOs, and also one of the pillar of democracy there is a journalist. This is what we will do while we conduct this conference and what next after the Jakarta Statement.
Yeah, I'm actually drawn how you were answering that, Pak Lakso, and I want to go back to Datuk Sri over here because this is something, again, not to be cynical, not to be sarcastic about it, but we have heard about this particular word, how and why, all the time when it comes to corruption. How are we going to do this? How are we going to be implementing this? How are we going to, challenge all this thing? And this, it has always been the how and why, but never the actual enforcement, never the actual delivering the job. And I would assume as much that, being yourself, being in the anti-corruption field quite extensively for the past years, I would assume that the challenges that you yourself face, not just here, trying to combat corruption in Malaysia, but also ASEAN countries as well, has been nothing but short of a challenge, Datuk Sri.
Yeah, sure. When we talk again about the challenges, we need to address each particular challenges. Yeah? But what are the critical success factor in terms of pointing out which are the real critical point that we need to address first? Of course, there are a lot of challenges. That is why, again, recalling Jakarta Statement, as mentioned just time and again, we said we have 16 principles. We recall back the statement, we name it as recalling Jakarta Statement, to be discussed, elaborate, and what action needs to be done. And what are the challenges? If there are challenges, of course, from 2012 until now, what went wrong? It should be tackled right away. But what went wrong? What needs to be done, as we mentioned just now again. You see, that is why when we talk about the conference itself, we talk about the statement itself, the principle, all that, we are talking about how to benchmark those countries, those agencies that really successful. Of course, we have had in so many countries that really successful. Even in Malaysia, it's successful to a certain extent, but we need to do more. But having said it again, after seeing the benchmark, what are the global measurement? Just now Pak Lakso mentioned about measurement. What are the measurement? Saying that this country is good. Perhaps corruption perception index is one of the index. Yeah, even though it's perception, but one of the index being used to measure whether or not in a country of that level of corruption. There are ranking, there are also points after being discussed. So again, to promote effective, independent and accountable ACA or anti-corruption agency is the most critical issue. Of course, we are talking about collaboration, we are talking about not only the ACAs, what about the community at large, the ecosystem, we are talking about what are the enablers, we are talking about parental guide, the education, there are so many things. But again, if enforcement, as you mentioned, need to be really effective, efficient, and really being enforced, being implemented, none other. That is why, again, I must repeat it time and again, the 16 Jakarta Principles saying that, for example, the mandate. We are talking the mandate. We are talking about even the position of the head of the agency. If they are being pressured, being influenced to start with, then that shows how actually we are talking about it's not going to work. By having said all that, again, we are talking about the collaboration. One of the most important thing. As I mentioned just now, when we talk about something need to be addressed, the togetherness, the cooperation from all parties. And here in uh, this conference on 29th of April, we take three parties, three components, very important components. Of course, the SAA, the anti-corruption agencies. And then we are talking about how the NGOs, the non-governmental organization, to work close hand in hand with those agencies, with the government at large. And thirdly, the media partners. Here in this communication part, how we can really tell people the tragedy because of corruption, how we can really disembark to the public, to the masses, even to the to the children, saying that this they need to understand what is corruption. Then to the large extent, of course, to the working community, and of course the politician to be addressed too, and the public at large, because we are talking about the ecosystem. The challenges is so great.
Yeah.
The implementation part, you mentioned about the how part. We are not talking the why. People know why. But the how part, of course, when we said how, take for example, of course, we can deliberate quite a length on that. When we said why, for example, how, perhaps in this era, technology usage is a must in apprehending corruption. We are not talking about those days. Yeah, analytical data analytic, for example,
Yep.
that is in the era of AI. So by having all that, the component, the ecosystem, the how part, inshallah, can be really looked into and can be really successful.
Because when it comes to these kind of issues, or should I say challenges, it's not really a one model fix all, because it's
Exactly.
quite particular, it's quite specific to each of the condition or the situation that that particular country is actually in. Going to our friend down back in Jakarta, back to Pak Lakso, coming back to a very similar question that I do want to ask you of what I've just asked Datuk Sri earlier. Obviously, when it comes to corruption, across any nation, any country out there, it is the same thing when you talk about corruption, regardless whether you're speaking Hindi, you're speaking Mandarin, you're speaking Urdu or whatever it is, corruption is corruption. But of course, when it comes to specifics, to its uniqueness to certain countries, let's say for Indonesia, its style could be differ in comparison to Malaysia, for instance. So what are your challenges then, looking into how corruption is in Indonesia and how the Jakarta Statement can address these challenges? Because again, the statement did come from you, Pak Lakso. Not you personally, but yeah.
Actually, we shall come back to the 1998 when the reformation happened in Indonesia. Actually, when we talk about anti-corruption, one of the most problematic source of the problem, we talk about the independency and no intervention when the law enforcement, when the special body of anti-corruption doing their job. This has become the problem. That's why in 1998, the Indonesia reformer developed a new institution we called KPK. And when we talk about this KPK, KPK has three um, requirements to become independent. Firstly, independency in management of the employee. Secondly, we talk about the one group enforcement system when the process of the investigation until prosecution in one group system. And three, we have position as a state auxiliaries agencies. We're not under executive, judicative, or the legislative power. This has become one of the reason why independency so important. And when we come back again to the when Jakarta Statement developed, Jakarta Statement say about the independency. They know the common obstacles is related to the people. Eight principles of Jakarta Statement talk about the people. How we secure the chairman of the agency not be dismissed when doing the job. They talk about the immunity for the employee when doing their job. This has become a problem when the revision happened in 2019 in Indonesia. We know that after that's happened, IM 57 has developed because the government fired 57 employee from the KPK. We talk about the violation of the Jakarta Statement 8 principle. This has become obstacles in Indonesia because one of the biggest challenges: independency, and how they intervene the independency with the people. Because when we talk about the people act principle has been elaborated special for the people at Jakarta Statement. This is the most challenges when we talk about the experience in Indonesia, and I'm sure why all of the leader from the all across countries here when develop Jakarta Statement agree to develop 18 principle, and from the 18 half of the principle related to the people, because we talk about the independency of the people to work. This is really important issue from my side. That's why when we talk about this conference, we talk about how to achieve this goal by developing collaboration between the civil society and the government to ensure that people at the anti-corruption agency can independently work for the purpose to fighting corruption.
Of course, because ultimately at the end of the day, as much as each and every one of us here, not just in this region but all over the world, we do want to end corruption. But unfortunately, it's not as easy of a task as one might think. It does take a process. It does take a lot of time and years because again, it's not just of how you act during that moment in time. It goes down to your grassroots, it goes down to your upbringing, and so on and so forth. Hence why it's something that we want to strive to be better and to, get away from this pandemic as much as we can. So right now we do want to talk about, we want to pull it back to the ASEAN region and how we here as ASEANs can actually deliver from paper to practice. We have already spoken about the 16 principles. From time to time, we will be showing you on air as well the 16 principles. But Datuk Seri, coming back to you, moving from commitment to implementation. Again, it's always a challenge, always, regardless of whatever it is. And battling corruption is even worse in my view, to be honest. But what are the biggest hurdles ASEAN countries are facing in putting the Jakarta Statement into real action as a region, not just for Malaysia then? Your views on this?
I want to take the word commitment, just you mentioned earlier, before answering about how ASEAN countries can do their best in terms of apprehending corruption. When I talk about commitment, we don't accept reason. We don't accept excuses. We accept on the results, right? Unlike interest. Interest just matter of, well, we are going to do it or we are not going to do it. But the commitment by having this conference, the commitment by collective views from all this country and the agencies and the media practitioner, the NGOs, we come back to on the table to look into what went wrong. The how part you mentioned earlier, and the process, the execution. You see, when we talk about enforcement, for example, we are still talking about firefighting. Just enforcement. Well, people involved in corruption, we arrest them, we charge them.
It's more proactive, isn't it? It's more reactive.
That's reactive. That's why I said firefighting. But when we talk about prevention, we are talking about the very fundamental issue. To start with, just now Pak Lakso mentioned about the people. How people saying that, how to say no to corruption. Don't ever give. If there's no giver, there's no receiver, right? That's always the saying. So again, coming back to the issues of the whole spectrum that we talk about, prevention, the education, these are the network, the value chain that we need to address. The education part to start with. Is it in school? What about the formal, informal education at home? Do their fathers involved in that kind of scenario and watched by their kids? Then in Malay proverb, you know, anak kencing bapa kencing di anak. So these are just not good words, but still
it makes sense.
It makes sense, but we need to address education. We need to address prevention. Prevention better than cure. The cure part is the how that we mentioned and that we are going to discuss. Well, the technical jargon can be mentioned time and again. We talk about all the technology, all the expertise. We are talking about the international dimension, a technical assistant. And again, at the global arena, we have the United Nations Conventions Against Corruption, Unpack. Previously, it was transnational organized crime, but was given a focus area by United Nations, saying that instead of transnational organized crime, we put one single subject, that is corruption, to begin with, so that we can really deep dive in terms of how we can really effectively look into the matter. So coming again on the ASEAN partners, collectively we are going to discuss, but not the ACs alone, because we are talking about other partners also have the same taste, meaning to say have views that we need to listen, that we need to act upon. We are not in terms of antagonizing anybody, but we are talking about as sincere discussion with all parties. And here, I said just now, time and again, three parties, three components. There is the ACS, and of course the NGO, and the media practitioner. But we have a lot of component that we need to discuss together. But for this forum, it's only one day forum, so we are going to discuss quite thorough, quite detailed with them. As I said, what went wrong, what need to be done, and of course promoting accountability. We talk about the crucial role of the to look into the what are the region's future to ensure corruption is not happening again.
Yeah.
Can we eradicate corruption? Is always the question.
Yeah.
But perhaps we can minimize it. We can say people say no to corruption. People have the mindset of this is something that will become a tragedy to not only to the family, to the society, organization, to the ummah, or to the to the universe even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, understand that. I mean, because again, it's not as simple as it is, Pak Lakso. Coming back to you as what Datuk Sri was actually mentioning, it's something that you can't just erase it off the face of the earth that easily, because to implement such things, in regards from the civil society's perspective, it is not an easy task. But with the existence, Pak Lakso, when you talk about all of the technology that we currently have, all the tools and whatnot at our disposal, and the emergence of AI at our fingertips as well, I believe this could be something of a turnaround in helping us eradicating corruption, implementing a much better lifestyle moving forward, thus ensuring Jakarta Statement doesn't just stay on paper, but within ourselves, within our own mannerisms, day in and day out. Pak Lakso, what do you think?
Okay, I think you give me two magic words. Firstly, you talk about the technology. Secondly, you talk about the how to implement the Jakarta Statement and others. I think when we talk about the collaboration between technology and fighting corruption, we should mention three things that's really important. Firstly, we talk about the how to use technology as a media to encourage participation when we talk from the enforcement perspective. I mean, we can use technology as like the open source intelligence and others. We know that currently we encourage all of NGO using the open source technology because we have new digital era when we can access almost all of the information from the open source actually. We talk about the who beneficial owner of the company and others we can search from the technology. That's why this is important when we talk from the first perspective is using technology to support anti-corruption agencies, to encourage participation from public to report to anti-corruption agencies from the perspective of NGO, to maximize using AI, including the using open source intelligent techniques. This is an example. Secondly, we talk about the prevention, something that mentioned by Datuk Sri Mustafar as one of the experienced person that has been implemented this strategy. I think when we talk about the prevention, social media is one of the best media to spread value anti-corruption. We talk about some example Indonesia when owner of the public official has luxurious life, they make it viral. And this has become one of the strategy to install new trend that is not common if you don't have any additional additional incentive and others, but you really has you have a luxury life. This is not common. That's why when we talk from the perspective of the prevention, technology and media social has developed new level of playing field because public can participate to spread anti-corruption value to the public. And thirdly, something that's really important also when we talk about the technology is the protection. Protection of what? Protection for the anti-corruption fighter. That's why we can encourage participants from the public to campaign and doing advocacy to make sure that no intervention in the process of eradicating corruption. This is third thing that's I think really important. How we use technology for the support the enforcement, support the prevention, and support the protection of the anti-corruption agencies, like Jakarta Statement mentioned.
Yep, exactly. Because when it comes to all of these digital tools that we actually have, it is up to us to make use of it to the best to our own abilities for the betterment of humanity. Again, the tools are there. It's how we use it. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones who actually came up with the tools in the first place. It's how we implement it and how we go about it that's what really matters. All right, we're going to be taking a short break, Datuk Sri, as well as Pak Lakso. But right after this, we're going to be diving more into the youth community. Datuk Sri and myself, we may not be able to relate on this, but I think Pak Lakso can. So do stay with us down here. Do not go anywhere. Continue watching us here on Wacana English Edition.
The world's unfolding, stories untold. Voices rising and we're breaking the mold. Fearless and bold, we're taking the lead. Empowering minds, that's what we see. Sinar daily, shining bright. News that's bold, news that's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for staying still here with us, down with us here at the Wacana English edition with Mimi Adlan together, discussing about the topic, the Jakarta Statement, ASEAN's silent revolution against corruption. We have two fabulous guests here together with us down in Indonesia, actually, through the magic of the internet. We have the chairman of the IM 57 Plus Institute, Pak Lakso Anindito, and here with us in the studio, we have the esteemed Datuk Sri Mustafar Ali. Okay, Datuk Sri, again, jokingly, I've mentioned before we actually took a break earlier, we want to talk about youth. It is my understanding, I don't think we belong in that category anymore. But having said that, we still have a duty. We still have a responsibility to educate the youth, to try, to be in that role where we are able to advise accordingly. Specifically, when you want to talk about, things such as corruptions and whatnot, because again, as what you mentioned as well, Datuk Sri, it is something that we cannot just take lightly and we cannot just be reactive about it. We need to be proactive. We need to go down to the grassroots and really educate and instill certain kind of behavior, certain kind of mindset for people to really understand. So to your point at that, Datuk Sri, how critical is it ultimately the role of young people in shaping the future of integrity and good governance, not just in Malaysia, but also within the region as well?
Well, come again, there are a few things. There are a lot of things actually need to be...
Too many things, I think.
Too many things on the table. But the word silent revolution, as we discussed today, they need to speak up.
All right. So you should not be silent then.
Cannot be silent.
All right.
We cannot be silent anymore. Code of silence is a least thing that need to be embraced by any party when we talk about corruption.
Okay.
Why I mentioned that time and again, always in whatever capacity, saying that we must speak up. You see, in Islam, for example, we talk about cegah dengan tangan, cegah dengan lidah, cegah dengan hati. Yeah? If we cannot do it with our hands, of course we write something saying that this is wrong. Speak up dengan lidah. Speak up saying that this is wrong. At least we say something that is bad. Don't do it. Or if not, if everybody have the control, the internal control, the self-regulatory, the policeman within oneself, I think that's a real thing that we can really put up. So the silent revolution must be addressed. That's one. When we speak up. So what about the youth? You see, in 2020, in 2002, I remember when I was still the MCC at the time.
When you were still a youth at that moment.
I'm not sure youth or not. I mean, a youth at least at heart.
Of course.
But we are talking about something that the result of a survey saying that 31.5% students saying that if they have the power, the opportunity, they will take corruption. They will take bribe. This is something very, very scary. Something that need to be looked into deep dive, as I mentioned time and again. And that is why the Malaysian Institute of Integrity was established in 2004.
All right.
And the National Integrity Plan was introduced at the time. And still relevant until now, of course. So, what are the youth role in this? You see, we are talking about not only having program, workshops, having a gala, something, event with youth, but how do they really embrace in terms of looking as future generation? If we don't really look into it now, or in fact yesterday, not only now, yesterday, we look into their capacity as future generation, future leaders of the country, future leaders for the world for a matter. So by again having said all that, the youth role is so significant, so paramount, as we know. But that is why I mentioned about the research again. By having conduct in-depth research, here we together during our discussion, deliberation during the conference, we try to measure. One, of course, what needs to be done. One, what went wrong. But what are the action, the takeaway from the conference itself, and must be executed efficiently. So when analyzing the trends, we talk about identifying the actors, the key actors, be it from the NGOs, be it from the media, be it from the government itself. Of course, these are the collaboration. When we talk about collaboration, we empower the youth to be the champion, to be the ambassador, so-called, in this endeavor. Let them speak themselves. Sometimes we post to them too much, saying that you must listen to us. We don't give them an opportunity. Let them speak to us. By having that opportunity, I think we listen first. I remember a guru mentioned, seek first to understand before to be understood. So this is the thing that we need to listen to them. Perhaps they have their peer group. So if we can address the whole group, to start from the family, the youth in the family, the youth in the community, the society, the ummah, of course the Asean region, for example. So I think by having that kind of research, we can go deep dive, in-depth research on regional basis.
As what you mentioned as well, Datuk Sri, I mean, there's so many options on the table, as what you mentioned, but there are some things that we need to be mindful of, that we need to, have more concentration on, because again, some things, again, it's like trying to throw, a wet tissue on the wall to see whether it sticks or not. But at the end of the day, whatever that actually works, we need to amplify that even more and more. And coming to Pak Lakso down in Jakarta, Indonesia, obviously the IM 57 Plus Institute has been working very closely with grassroots movements. To your opinion and to your know-how, Pak Lakso, how are the young people across Southeast Asia already contributing to anti-corruption efforts in your own personal view, specifically of what IM 57 Plus Institute has been doing on those grassroots level?
Okay. I think when we talk about the contribution from the young people, any two different steps that we should consider. Firstly, we talk about the how setting the value. This is really important because when we talk about the young people, we not just talk about don't corruption. We should have anti-corruption value. No, but we should have special communications to make this value is really relevant with your life, especially when we talk about the Gen Z and also Gen Alpha, because I'm millennial. That's why millennial has interaction with the older generation, but the Gen Z and Gen Alpha is really different. For example, when we talk about anti-corruption value, actually the social media has one of the good value. We know that sometimes social media give also negative value to the youth. But when we talk about the social media, we can use social media also to integrate the value of anti-corruption. Media, we talk about the openness, and we know that transparency and accountability is one of the pivotal value when we talk about anti-corruption. That's why when we talk to this young people, that this is really important. When we say that using social media to ensure accountability and transparency, the young people will be interested. This is what IM57 try to use. That's why we try to hire young people to collaboration with the grassroots. Secondly, we talk about the how they can contribute. This is we talk about the next level of the participation of young people. This is why when we talk about the participation, young people actually has really curious when we talk about the FP. That's why one of the program that IFTS7 is doing is we conduct anti-corruption academy, Indonesia Memanggil Anti-Corruption Academy, to recruit 35 people from the different organization, because majority of the NGO has been done by the young people from the different provinces, different profession, and also different background to know how to investigate corruption. Datuk Sri Mustafar, one of the speaker in this anti-corruption academy that we conduct every year. This is one of the example that's when we collaborate with the young people to give them insight how they can contribute. They can investigate something that's not common around them. That's why for example, because we have different participation. For example, people from the legal aid can contribute to to combine between the investigate process and also how to defend the good people in the court. When we talk about, for example, like a youth judges, we have also some participation from youth judges. They can contribute also when they want to take a decision. Also, from the some of the people from the NGO that focus on the education, they can contribute how to investigate and make sure that in the education perspective there is zero corruption. This is two things that I think is really important. And in experience of M57 Institute, there is any two steps that we do. Firstly, we talk about the setting value, and secondly, we talk about the how give knowledge to the young people, how to contribute, how to participate, how to involve in anti-corruption.
All right, great, very much indeed. Because again, there's no two ways about it. Because when we talk about the youth, we cannot run away from the fact that the youth are very much, they want to be empowered, and especially with today's day and age, with the existence of all of these tools and gadgets and programs and social medias and so on and so forth. This is how they are empowering themselves, by having all of these facilities, by having all of these technologies in their hands. Coming back to you, Datuk Sri, an institution such as IIM, the one that you are, a board member of, do you think this gives you an advantage to engage with the youth better and to be able to empower them better to become more active rather than just being a silent revolutionary, and yeah, amplifying it even more to go and fight against corruption?
Very quickly, I answer yes. Saying that yes, yes, because this is the reason why IIM, the Malaysian Institute of Integrity, was established. You see, the component that being addressed in the National Integrated Plan, which is very much relevant into what our principle that we are going to discuss, we have the 8 components of society, the 8 institutions. To start with, we are talking about the administration, the government administration perhaps, the politician, we are talking about the corporate sector, we are talking about the social society. What about the family institution, religion aspect of it? Of course, we are talking about institution, and the youth is one of the necessary partners that need to be engaged and listened to. That's why I mentioned just now, empowered them by giving them the chance, by give them the opportunity,
The platform.
the platform to speak up. You're right. We're talking about communication and engagement is a must. Yeah, be it by social media, be it by whatever media that they had, even informally or informal, in school or otherwise, in a society, very holistic kind of endeavor, so-called. Yeah. Again, yes, the Malaysian Institute of Integrity looking into it together with not only Malaysian Institute of Integrity. We had the youth champion, we had the young professional champion, the ambassador that we engage with. We have also from the primary school up to at the certain age of the youth limit, and after that there are different kind of endeavor that we need to address. But coming back to issues of youth, in this conference itself, of course, we don't have a youth program in that conference because we are talking about the 3 components. We are talking about the ACAs, the Anti-Corruption Agency, media, and also the NGOs. But NGOs, there are some of them being represented are youth in that youth category.
Youth-driven, anyway.
Youth-driven. The age, for example. So we are going to take steps after steps, and to ensure how efficient and effective deliberation is one. The strategy they put in place, the planning part, the program or initiative that we are going to derive from that, but we have also the timeline. For example, this year, 2025.
Yep.
Where are we going from here? We have the input, the process, the output. But what are the outcome in 2030, for example? If we have phases of life, phases in that kind of task, perhaps we have short-term, medium-term, long-term kind of target. Who are the audience? Of course, in this category, we are talking about the youth that we are not going to empower. So this is one of the things. But coming back again, as the matter of principle in Jakarta Statement, as I said, a very fundamental issue is the ACA, the Anti-Corruption Agency, must be really enforced, strengthened, but without leaving other components. That is why the 3 components that we are talking about.
It goes hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Because again, it's like a recipe for baking a cake. You can't just have flour and that's it. You need the sugar, you need the yeast, you need
The collaboration together. with
exactly
others.
the super combo that makes it a perfect cake, makes it the best recipe to move forward. We're almost running out of time here, but I do want to hear once again from our representative down in Jakarta, Pak Lakso. Unfortunately, we're almost running out of time, but I do want to give you a chance for you to leave us one powerful CTA, call to action, specifically to the youth and to the leaders of not just Indonesia, but to the ASEAN region as well. What would it be as we look ahead to ASEAN's future in anti-corruption? What would your war cry be, Pak Lasso?
Okay. Actually, when we talk about the anti-corruption, we should firstly talk about the incentive and disincentive. This is the new approach for the anti-corruption. We should encourage people to know what is the incentive then and the incentive for the doing and not doing corruption. This is a really important step to make anti-corruption is just not a symbol, not just rhetorica, but also we need to do it. This is talk about how develop the enlightenment for the people why we doing this job, why we fighting for this. Secondly, I want to say that actually corruption is one type of the crime that cannot do by one person. It's impossible to doing corruption is one person. That's why this is crime that's related to the minimum 2%. We talk about the syndication. That's why when we talk about the fighting corruption, we talk about how we should collaborate, how we should develop a good syndicate to fighting corruption. The secondly, I just want to say that let's collaborate because we cannot fighting the crime that's doing by the syndicate without develop our own syndicate that consists of the NGO, government, and also journalists in fighting corruption and also private sector. This is really, really important for us. And third, I just want to give a message for the youth generation, including me. When we talk about the corruption, we talk about our future. That's why when we fighting corruption, we want to save our future. This is really important to know by by the people so they can contribute more and more because we cannot fighting alone, but we should collaborate with the old people, with the young people, and all of the component in Asia region.
All right, great. Well said enough, Pak Lasso. And coming back to you, finally, Datuk Sri, last words from you. Not the same question, but actually yours is going to be a bit difficult because I do want to put you on the spot here. What would your message be to all of the policymakers, to all the institutions, and to the wider ASEAN community as we aim to build a cleaner and more transparent region together? Should you are in that spot, what would you demand right now?
Be transparent. Let ACA be independent. No political interference, and to work together. The commitment of working together is a must.
Yeah.
Yeah. By having said again all that, by championing anti-corruption, the prevention of corruption, with a sincere mind, with a clear mindset. This is for the nation. This is for the world, for global, for example. I think that is a must again. Yeah. So that's a clear message, and that is why during our conference, we are not working alone. There are government sectors in it. That is the ACA, for example, in Malaysia, the MACC, the Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission. We have also the Malaysia Institute of Integrity. We have National Financial Crime Center to collaborate. We have Rasuah Buster as NGO that together with us. We have also Sinar as our media partners. We have these are kind of
More than
collaboration.
enough, actually. Or is it not enough?
Not enough.
Not enough. Oh,
We want
right.
all parties,
All
but
right.
of course, we are talking about 100 packs kind of conference. We are not talking about, but put together, put our head together, put our thinking process together. I think that's the utmost important.
Sure.
We are not talking about this is for me, this is for them, this is our territory or this is their territory. No, we are talking about the same pace. They are talking on the same page in terms of the menace, the tragedy of corruption. If that is a clear mandate from everybody, the clear mindset of all parties, I think corruption is not going to happen, or in fact it can be eradicated, if not to be minimized to a certain level.
To a certain level, to the smallest level possible. Wow, a big thank you once again to both of our gentlemen down here, Datuk Sri Mustafar Ali and also Pak Lakso Anindito, who is now live in Jakarta for their valuable insights. Today's conversation has definitely made it clear. Basically, while the Jakarta Statement sets the tone, it is the action that we take, not just here in Malaysia or Indonesia, but in the region, that will define our ultimate future. From empowering youth and embracing digital tools that we currently have to ensuring the institutional independence and private sector integrity, the path forward demands bold leadership and collective commitment, but more importantly, loud vocal commitments and not just speaking it in your heart and leaving it there. Let's remember, fighting corruption isn't just about enforcement, it's about culture. As mentioned by Datuk Sri as well, it's about transparency, and ultimately it is about trust. And each of us in our own roles, we can contribute to building a cleaner, more accountable ASEAN for the better future. It has been definitely super engaging. Thank you so much. Once again, Datuk Sri, thank you so much to Pak Lakso for joining us for this edition of Wacana English edition. We hope to see you on our shows, Pak Lakso, very, very soon to discuss more in depth and make our collaboration not just on the regional side, but going out globally as well. Thank you, Pak Lakso. Again, thank you so much, Datuk Sri, and thank you so much to the whole team. Thank you specifically for all of you fellow viewers for watching us, staying informed with us here. So final words from us here: stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep pushing for integrity across Southeast Asia. Until next time, my name is Mio Adlan. Assalamualaikum, and have a very great afternoon, and have a very productive weekend ahead. Assalamualaikum, very good day. Bye.
Unfolding, stories untold, voices rising and we're breaking the mold. Fearless and bold, we're taking the lead.